What's up, everyone? It's Scott the Frozen Gamer here. In Minnesota, it's getting colder out. But we are on fire here right now with this video because I am introducing my newest segment to my channel. Game up, people. These games are feeling hot, hot, hot. Now, I'm just going to be calling this segment, These Games Are Hot, Hot, Hot. Buster Poindexter? Anyone? Each week, I'm going to be going through BGG's hotness list every day at a random time. That random time being whenever I remember to push the little button to run my little code that I created. And I'm going to be using this super complex descending point system where I give, it's like super complex. I'm going to be giving 50 points to first place ranking for each day, whatever game ranks first each day, and I'm going to be going down to giving 1 point to whoever came in 50th. And then at the end of the week, I total up all those bad boys, and at the end of the week, also, I'll be getting like a grand spanking weekly score for every game that was ever on the hot list on BGG for the week. And then I get to talk about the 10 hottest games of the week, which I'm going to do right now. So let's set up those games. So at number 10 is Brass Monkey. That funky monkey. No, it's Brass Birmingham. Yeah. So this game, did it do anything special to be in the top 10 this week of the hottest games? Not really, not a lot, other than being like number one game of all time according to Board Game Geek. And this game like should never be outside the top 10 until it loses like its number one ranking, and then maybe it should fall out of the top 10. But I lied a little bit because there was a new announcement about Brass Birmingham. They just re-teased a couple days ago a tease. So I lied a little bit about Brass Birmingham. There is a little bit of new news about them. About a month ago, they re-teased a tease that they had from 2 years ago that said that they're coming out with a sequel to Brass Birmingham. And it should be sometime in quarter four. At least I don't know if they're funding it or not, but something's happening with a sequel in quarter four. And that is big news. It's like really big news. So what are you doing in Brass Birmingham? In case you don't know, the number one game of all time, you're telling a story. It's not much of a story per se, kind of a dry game, but it's you're playing as this rival of entrepreneurs that are battling it out through the Industrial Revolution of England, and if sounds exciting, maybe. If it doesn't, don't worry, because the mechanisms are exciting. It's the number one game of all time for a reason. I haven't played it before. Shh, don't tell anyone. So that's number 10, Brass Birmingham. I need to fix my camera again because it keeps wanting to swing towards my windows. I don't know why it's doing that. So number 9 came out to great aplomb a year ago. Not a bomb, even though that is what you want to do to destroy your rivals in this game, but a great aplomb. And I don't even know if I'm using that word correctly or not. So this game of aplomb, which I may or may not be using correctly, is Voidfall, which is the hottest of the new 4X games. Yes, I know that Last Light came out, the quick little 4X game. I own it. But to our hot scale, Voidfall is the hottest of 4X games. And what is 4X, you say? Well, you're trying to do 4 excellent, that's my dad joke of the day, things throughout the game. You're trying to expand, exterminate, explore, and extrapolate. Hang on a minute. Yes, that's right. We're going to be exploiting. That's the 4th X. And nothing sounds more fun than exploitation. So Voidfall is has a little bit of everything. It's a bit Ameritrash. It's a bit Euro. You can play cooperatively. You can play competitively. You can push forward through new text, and you can push up new tracks. It's a gorgeous game by Ian O'Toole. You'll be hearing his name again. And it may be on top of the hot list because just recently Mindclash announced a new game set in the Voidfall universe. That's like a more zoomed in game than Voidfall's expansive game. It's currently under the working title of Jump. And they also announced Voidfall's first expansion with a campaign for it starting sometime in 2025. And they say they've been listening to fans' comments, so maybe the game might just not be having new stuff in it, but maybe improving some of the stuff that in the game that people didn't like quite as much, even though the game is really, 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 really loved to this point. And we'll just have to wait about a year to find out more about it. That's our number 9 game, Voidfall. Number 8 on our hot list is Dune, War of Arrakis. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly. I never saw Dune. And I kept telling my wife when the movie came out how much I wanted to see Dune with her. And then she decided to go with someone else to see it. And now I'm bitter, and I won't watch the movie. That's not true at all. Actually, I did try to watch the movie while I was running on my Peloton, but I couldn't get the speakers turned up enough, so I couldn't actually hear it, so I had to turn it off. And I guess all in all, I don't know why I'm telling any of this. I just don't know if it's pronounced Arrakis. Arrakis. I don't know if Arrakis is Arrakis. What I do know, though, is that even though it says this game plays up to 4 players, it is kind of in the style, kind of the same style game as War of the Ring, which is in the Lord of the Rings universe, which is a 2-player game. And I have seen those movies. And did I mention sandworms at all? I do know those are in Dune. Because not only are you battling the other houses in Dune, War of Arrakis, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the 2 house names in the game because I can't even pronounce Arrakis. So you're also trying to be battling, or you have to deal with sandworms, which have the most amazing minis ever. Thank you, Simon. So that's it. If you want to relive the movie Dune, which I have not seen, check out our number 8 hot game, Dune, War of Arrakis. So our number 7 hot game came out, I believe, at the end of 2023 at Essen. It's not McDonald's. It's not Wendy's. It's not Culver's. It's not In-N-Out Burger. Is that what you get? West Coasters? You crazy West Coasters like? No, it's the White Castle. Not the restaurant, because that's gross. No, it's the game, the White Castle. And I keep hearing more and more people talk about this game as time goes on, meaning it's becoming hotter and hotter and hotter. The White Castle is the sequel to the Red Cathedral, and I heard that I think I heard that DeVere announced that they are coming out with a 3rd game in the trilogy of colorful landmark building names. So this game is about the Himeji Castle, also known as the White Heron Castle, or in this case, the White Castle, which it is the largest castle in Japan. It is bright white, and it looks like a bird that's flying, which is why it's called the White Heron Castle. And the art of this game is really great. The art is by Joan Guaradet. Another name I can't pronounce. And it's really great, but definitely check out the real pictures of the White Castle as well, because it is stunning. Nothing beats the real thing. So between the Room of 1,000 Carpets, the Koi Ponds, and more locations of the White Castle, you're going to use resource management, worker, and dice placement to try to get enough victory points to win the game. And I had this on my wish list when it came out. Not when it came out, when I first heard about it, when Mr. W.E. Eric Martin put it on the Geek News on Board Game Geek. And the first review, I either read or heard from it, but it was a bad review. And I took it off my wish list because I'm like, oh, this is a bummer. And then every reviewer since has just like raved about this game. So I put it back on my wish list. And you may want to add it to your wish list too. And if you do, that is number 7 on this week's hot list, the White Castle. So number 6 has been hot since it first came out 3 years ago. And that is Ark Nova. So I just learned this, that Nova actually comes from the Latin name Novus, which means new. So really, they're saying like Ark, like Noah, Nova. Ark, the new Ark. Ark Nova, which would be a awesome name for a zoo, which is what you're doing in this game. So this big boy right here is just a genius of a game. I mean, nothing in it is wholly original. It steals from a slew of other games, but steals the best mechanisms from them. And somehow they put them all together to create like just this great game with all these mechanisms. They figured out a way to take tons of different mechanisms and work them together. So it drips with zoological and ecological themes, and it's super, super crunchy still. It's like still a Euro, even though it has like a ton of theme in it. Like all these mechanisms put together just made the greatest game, as I've said already, and that is a reason why this game has jumped to the top of the BGG rankings faster than I've seen any other game in my close to 15 years in this hobby jump to the top or near the top of the BGG rankings. There's tile placement. There's 100% unique cards. There's tags like in Terraforming Mars. There's that super cool river action mechanism that is like the core of the game. Just overall, just a genius of the game. It's Tom Vassel's number 2 game of all time right now. It's the Dice Tower's People's Choice number 1 game of all time. And if you are still living in La La Land, yes, Max from Table Knots. I do like that movie as well. I think it's outstanding. Get on it. Get on it. And play this game right here, Ark Nova, number 6 this week. Not number 2 this week, number 6 this week. So number 5 this week is hot. I mean, it's like really hot, like the title is hot, and that is obviously Heat, Pedal to the Metal. That is the most out-of-date phrase ever, right? Because there's no metal on the floor of a car anymore, right? It's rugged, right? You have like this little rug on the bottom of the car, or rubber, depending on how you have your car set up. So when you put the pedal down, it's not hitting the metal. But maybe in race cars, I don't know about race cars, so maybe you are hitting metal in race cars, and then maybe the phrase works. But that doesn't matter at all. This is by the designers Asger Harding Granerud, and it's his follow-up racing game to Flamme Rouge, which is an amazing game, and I own it and love it. And it's also, he added on the designer Daniel Skjold Pedersen to join him. So Heat is like a 1930s Formula 1 style race car game. It plays 1 to 6 players, and it has 2 maps and a whole slew of add-on modules. And the twist in the game is that that makes it in the lead over any other racing game out there right now is the Heat mentioned in the title. It's a push your luck game, kind of, in a bit of a push your luck game, because you want to push your car as far as it can go, and sometimes you have to do that, like literally pushing your luck, because you have to flip over a card and you don't know what number is going to come up, and if you go too far, you add heat to your engine. And every time you push your luck too much, you keep adding heat to your engine until eventually you overheat, unless you can cool it down, which there are mechanisms in the game to cool it down. But overall, if you push yourself too much, your car is going to overheat, and then you have to let it cool down, and all the other cars are going to like sweep right by you. So it's that constant tension between pushing your luck and playing it safe that makes this game special. And I know other racing games have that tension in it as well, but he just arguably does it more thematically and does it better than most other racing games, maybe all other racing games. The other thing that's helping Heat stay at the top of the Heat list right now, the hot list, is that Days of Wonder has recently announced the first expansion to it, the game, which is called Heat Heavy Rain. It's going to add on a 7th player. It's going to add 2 new maps, a wet sections of the track, and a whole bunch more. The rain It ain't cooling down, this game right now. It's number 5 on our hot list, and that's Heat. So number 4 is a large campaign game that came out a couple years ago. It's ISS Vanguard. And I know that some people just recently got second wave of shipping, which was the expansions. And that probably helped get this very loved game back to the top of the hot list. And it's a co-op game where you're playing as a crew that's trying to solve some mystery that's about to doom Earth. The game's played in 2 phases. There's the ship phase, which is where you're dealing with a binder. You have literally a 3-ring binder that you're using, and you're dealing with managing your ship and dealing with the crew and research and prepping for the mission that you're going to be going on. And then the second phase is the mission phase, where you go down to the planets, send your crews out to explore and deal with hazards and creatures and all sorts of stuff like that. And the game is played a lot with the dice that you choose for each character that goes out on a mission, and how you manage those dice is how successful you'll be in the game. It's a huge campaign. It's got over 100 unique characters in the game. It's got branching stories that are going to change based off of the choices you make and your actions. And it's just been a huge smash hit for Awakened Realms. And it has a whopping 8.6 rating on BoardGameGeek. And right now, this game isn't ranked 8 or 6, but it's ranked number 4 on our hot. These games are hot list. So number 3 is a game about Nightcrawlers. It's a game about Red Wigglers. It's a game about Oregon Giants. Yes, that is correct. We are talking about Stonemaier's newly announced game that should be hitting shelves fairly soon, I think, Wormspan. Wait a minute. That game is not about earthworms, it's about dragons. And I guess I lose my geek card because I had no idea that worms were wingless dragons until this game came out. Any Stonemaier game is going to be hot and usually stays hot for a long time. So we'll probably see this game on the list for a while. I mean, Wingspan is still ranked 14th this week on the hot list. And that game came out 7-8 years ago? That's crazy. So if you've been living on another planet, Wormspan is the follow-up game to Wingspan. Except, of course, this time we're dealing with dragons, not birds. And the game even comes out with a book that discusses all of the facts about the dragons, which is kind of funny. And it's a little bit too much for me because I'm not really into fantasy a whole lot. But if you are into dragons, you are into fantasy, you're going to love dragons. It is probably one of the coolest accessories that comes in a game that has nothing to do with the actual gameplay of the game, but just there for flavor. I mean, it sounds as cool as the lore book for Final Girl, and I think you have to that's an add-on in Final Girl that doesn't even come with the base game, and that's pretty dang cool. So that book, the lore book's pretty dang cool, and this might be even better. So just like Wingspan, the game's visually great looking. Every reviewer that's reviewed it so far has said it's pretty darn good. So if you like Wingspan, you want a little bit more complexity to your games, and you love the IP of Earthworm Jim, check out our number 3 game on the hot list, Wormspan. Okay, the number 2 game here came out of nowhere for me. I did not hear about this game until this week when I was working on these lists. It even spent some individual days at number 1, and that is the new upcoming trading card game, Altered. This game seems like it's going to be more hot than Disney Lorcana and Pokemon put together this year. So, first off, I will say that Max Flevy and Ting Young Yu's art is a blinger. Yes, I'm saying blinger. Blinger being eye-catching, because kids call music bangers. I'm going to call catchy visual art blingers. And of course it's going to be a blinger because it's by Miyazaki. They were inspired by Miyazaki, who was, does Studio Ghibli stuff, and his work's always a blinger. Scott, stop trying to make blinger happen. So this game's on Kickstarter right now. It's going to be out for another couple of weeks of the time that this video drops. And the main thing is, just don't blame me if you buy the game. That's on you. That's on you. It's not on me. You are the one pushing fund this game and putting your credit card in. Not me. Don't blame me. Don't do it. So there's a lot of TCG games. TCG's out right now, so what makes this one stand out? This is what they say on BGG. They say, what really lies at the heart of the revolution is a ton of expertly tailored details, a new rarity system, deep evolving lore, innovative game mechanisms and design, a phygital experience that comes along with its myriad of life quality improvements. Equinox. Stop trying to make phygital happen. Come on. So what stands out to me, though, more than any of the things that I just read, was that the guy who leads the design of this game, and it was his brainchild, there's a bunch of designers on it, but the lead designer is Reggie Bonassé, who he designed Seasons and Dice Forge, and he published Dixit and Mysterium. And to me, that's pretty exciting. And it's exciting for him to be making a TCG of all things. So I can't wait to see what happens with this game. That's our number 2 game. Number 2, Hot Game. Altered. So we're at number 1, and that number 1 Hot Game of the Week should be no surprise to any heavy gamer out there. It's Speakeasy. It's the newly announced game from Eagle Gryphon Games with artwork, yes again, by Ian O'Toole, which means it could only be designed by one designer, and that designer is Vital Lacerda. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the art, because there isn't a whole lot about the game yet, like other than the descriptions and some artwork pictures. And Ian O'Toole, let me just say, knocked it out of the park. This is my favorite cover of his, I believe, and that's crazy because I love the Rococo Deluxe Edition cover, amongst others of his. This game is stunning. It's a blinger. For those of you that get a little bit intimidated by Vital Lacerda games, like me, this guy right here, don't worry, this one is a bit lighter than most of his. Someone from the company said that it was more in the line of a Kanban. Jeez Louise, Scott. Let's say that word correctly. Kanban EV. And so still heavy, but light for Lacerda. The theme of this game is super exciting. It's back in the 20s. So real life, back in the 1920s. Lucky Luciano was a gangster, and he was one of the lead gangsters in New York, and he kind of divided up all the districts of New York with like sub-gangsters under him, so he wouldn't take the heat if things went down, and they all helped handle their business. And that's what you're doing in this game. You get to be a mobster that runs your district of the game, and you get to run your own speakeasy empire in Manhattan. You'll be upgrading your speakeasies. You're going to be running casinos and hiring your own goons to do your dirty work. You can attack rum runners. You even get to do some money management by cooking the books, and all of that to become the most famous gangster in New York. But you have to be careful, because if you get too famous, the outside mafia and the police are going to be setting their eyes on you. They're going to know where you are. They're going to catch on to you. I don't know what that means yet mechanically, but it sounds exciting. All this theme, this crazy speakeasy mobster theme, is going to be in a not super in this case, but a nice, complex, heavy Lacerda game. It's going to be kickstarted in the middle of 2024 as of now, so definitely watch out for that. And also watch out for the cutest little trucks that have like barrels of spirits in them that I've ever seen. I believe so I will put the picture in here that's on Board Game Geek. I believe that's from a prototype, which is just crazy because it looks so amazing. Now, if the game itself is good or bad, just like every other Lacerda game out there, it's gonna sell like hotcakes, like illegal underground hotcakes. And on a completely different note, if you ever want to visit a speakeasy in New York, like one of the modern speakeasies, just pause the video, grab a pen and paper real quick, and here's some names. Rain's Law Room. Amazing. My most frequented one. Dear Irving, which was the follow-up to Rain's Law Room by the woman that created Rain's Law Room. That's her follow-up. Little Branch. Outstanding. The Upstairs of the Dead Rabbit is probably the best bar that I've ever been to. And there's one that I never got to go to, a speakeasy that I never got to go to. You go in through a hot dog shop, and in the back of the hot dog shop is a phone booth, and through the phone booth, you go into the restaurant. It's called PDT. I think that one's still around. Great drinks if you're ever in Manhattan. I used to live there for a long time. Not there anymore, as you know. So, anyways, those are some of the greatest, like the top speakeasies in Manhattan. And Speakeasy is the top game of the week. So that's it for this week's first segment of These Games Are Hot, Hot, Hot. I'll be back next week to see if any new games jump onto the list and to see if Speakeasy can hold their number one spot just off of the buzz that came from its announcement that it's coming out this year, or at least being kickstarted this year. Anyways, peace, stay cool, and I'm gonna run off and make myself a little cocktail before I go to bed. Later, all. Such a stupid name to begin with. Buster Poindexter. It's like so stupid. It's good. It's kind of cool though. It's kind of fun. So, and maybe Daniel Skjold Petterson, Asger Harding Granerud to join him. I don't know, but they're working together, and they have the greatest names that contain three names. I just love them. Great Scandinavian names. Love it. So, may have probably helped it stay up or get up to the hot. Woo!